is the first episode that I'll be cheesing in the episode.
Yeah.
Even with Dangerous and Phil, we just drank. There was no cheesing. So
yeah, well, it's just
it's tough especially when you're by yourself like a psycho talking.
Right.
It's tough to talk and then stop with nobody around to
you gotta work in your spits.
It's just like and I don't feel like going through and cutting all that crap.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, okay, I'll keep it clean. I'll entertain them some other way without them having to listen to me spit in a goddamn microphone all by myself again. So, but this is the first one. And of course we got these damn wires. Like one day I'm going to figure out the whole wire situation where you're not going to see anything. It's going to be professional. I'll get my buddy Joe Rogan to help me out with it. It'll be great. But until then, you got to look at this, this situation.
From the ceiling, maybe.
Oh yeah, like a disco ball, but except like a Bruce Buffer mic or Mike Buffer mic. Yeah. All right, jabronis, we're back. Welcome back to another riveting episode of the LPDS. Really happy about today's episode. We got a special guest, like I mentioned last week. We actually made it happen. The creature's here, Steve Ortman. Talked about him in a number of previous episodes.
So happy to be here.
Oh yeah, so we talked about you, like old stories between with Bone Crusher Bud and his episode, and in Wet Cat and Dangerous David's episode. Again, you've been like the focal point or a key player in a lot of really great memories, and certainly in my life and theirs as well. So it's been great to actually get you here. You did a road trip. It was like you made it happen, and it just worked out perfectly. So thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate you coming on.
Oh man, thanks for having me. Like I've told you time and time again, you're killing it with this thing, man. It's a really fun listen. So I'm happy I was worthy enough to be on an episode.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah. So we talked a little bit prior to this, like how we kind of usually run things with special guests, especially first appearances.
Mm-hmm.
You actually brought a cage fact, which again, it's one of those things I like to offer up to everybody all the time. No pressure. If you want to, you can bring it on. If not, it's not a big deal. I'm not behind the screen like with a knife at you telling you to do this. So we might as well just kick into it because we got a lot to talk about in the junction. So let's just step into the cage.
Okay, let's run.
Okay. This Into the Cage segment is proudly sponsored by Randy's Rug Muncher Carpet Cleaning. Randy is his name. Rug munching carpet cleaning is his game. If you have a carpet full of stains from shit, piss, puke, wine, or even tomato sauce, Randy and his team will come in and clean that mess up faster than you can say soft serve ice cream. To get a consultation today, visit www.munchingislife.com and use the promo code SUCKER for your free consultation.
Wow.
So Randy is offering free consults, coming to your house, taking a look at your shit stains on the carpet or whatever the hell you're doing with your wild parties.
Does he offer gift cards for his services?
I think he does.
He does.
Well, you have to kind of negotiate. He's very old school in his approach to bargaining. He doesn't have set prices like those big timers. I think they're hot shit in the cleaning game, in the rug munching game.
Yeah.
He comes in, he offers good deals, thorough cleanings. I can't tell you how many times I had wild parties with all these crazy animals and women like I do.
Yes, and we've all been there.
So Randy will come in with his team of experts, and
the holidays are right around the corner. I think a gift card like that would make a great stocking stuffer.
Oh yeah, for sure. So go visit Randy's website today. Let me know what the website actually is because I just made it up. So, but cage facts. Let's hear what you got today.
So the cage fact that I brought today, I wanted to shed a light on Nick Cage instead of giving you another fact about how he spent $40 million on a fossilized woolly mammoth penis. I figured I'd show
which he probably has
which
done.
I'm sure he has. I wanted to talk about a story which involved one of his co-stars. One of his co-stars, Kathleen Turner, wrote an autobiography about her experience with Nick Cage and how one time he got so drunk that he dog-napped a chihuahua. That was in her autobiography.
Was it her chihuahua?
It didn't specify. It just said a Chihuahua.
Could have been anybody.
It could have been anybody's famous Chihuahua. I'm not sure. But Nick Cage did not do this. That's not how Nick Cage rolls. Definitely he doesn't. Not. He likes to party, but he doesn't like to dog nap.
Right.
So he obviously took offense to this. He took legal action, citing libel. He won that, and the damages that Kathleen Turner had to pay, that her publisher had to pay, and that the news sites that cited her autobiography all had to pay. Nick Cage made them donate to a charity of his choice.
Wow. So that actually kind of goes into last week's Cage Fact, which you and I talked about previously.
Sure, yes.
Was how that was something you read separately.
Yes.
The whole interview with his buddy Marilyn Manson.
It's unbelievable.
And how he gave to charity. That's just further proof, and I'm talking to you idiots now in the camera, further proof that Nick Cage is not just an incredible top-of-the-line actor.
He is a bro.
He is a top-of-the-line human being.
Yeah.
Even if he did take the Chihuahua, like he was doing that person a favor.
Sure.
Chihuahuas are fucking absolute animals. Sorry, Terrence, family show.
Let me tell you something about your boy Terrence. That guy spews vulgarity that can make a hooker blush, so don't worry about
He is on another level. I can't wait to get him on the show, but we got to keep it family style because his kid listens. His grown-up kid of 18 months listens to the program, so we try to keep it clean for T and the little guy, but... a wild Cage fact. Just the fact that like he has a history of money issues where he owes money,
right? And
he could have very easily taken that to pay off his debt, right? But he chose the greater good. He chose to stay in the hole, if you will,
right?
And give back to the community as like I wouldn't expect anything less than Nick Cage, honestly.
And not only did he do that good deed, but he sent the message like, hey, like don't talk shit. You know what I'm saying? Like
don't fuck with Nick,
right?
Yeah, and you're gonna pay.
Yeah.
And I hope he picked charities that they hated.
Oh.
Just to really stick it to them. Like I don't know if there's I'm not sure of any bad charities out there. There's those corrupt ones going on, but I'm sure he picked a good one because he's just a good guy.
He's just a great guy.
And that's a completely objective opinion. That's not biased one bit whatsoever. Sure. So
can I another this isn't a Nick Cage fact, but a Nick Cage anecdote. When I was in school, I took a psychology class. And the professor was talking about like disorders and things like that. And she wanted to discuss OCD. So in order to discuss this topic, she had us watch Nick Cage's performance in Matchstick Men because he absolutely nailed it.
He nailed it. If you haven't seen that movie,
it's a great movie.
It's objectively great. I'm not being biased this time.
That movie, yeah.
Agnostic of the fact that he's in it.
Like, Sam Rockwell's in it.
It's a good, crushes it. He nails that part. Mm-hmm. I can only imagine how it was like behind the scenes of him getting into the character because he kind of immerses into it.
Sure.
Which I've listened to interviews time and time again of him talking about his acting style, which is incredible. We could talk about that all day, but I wish I was there. I wonder if he was like playing OCD in real life to get into the character and stuff. I'm sure he did.
Oh yeah.
What a guy.
Just unbelievable human being.
Anyway, we're just gonna roll into it. So we'll flip the Junction logo up right now. My producer will do that for us. Thank you, producer.
Appreciate it.
And so what I like to do with the Junction topic for a first-time guest is I call it the origin story, kind of stealing from the Marvel universe. I like to talk about people get to know you, how we met, our stories and shit. Mm-hmm. And then when you come back on, now you're a well-established character in the LPDS universe.
Right. And now we can create.
And now we can talk about other crap and it'll all make sense. All the pieces will be put together. Mm-hmm. So we met. It was my second year playing baseball at Embry-Riddle. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what year. Was that your sophomore year of college?
It was my sophomore year. I transferred in from another program. Spent my freshman year at a different college, transferred in, and I actually met you at my tryout. So
that's right.
During my freshman year, I knew it wasn't a good fit for me in that program. It just for a variety of reasons. I knew I wasn't going to succeed there the way that I wanted to. So I had a family friend that was involved in pitching lessons, travel ball teams during the fall and the off season, things like that. He was well invested in the baseball community, and he actually grew up with Skip, with Coach Stiegel. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't the kind of relationship where he can just call up Skip and be like, hey, pick this guy up. You're going to want him. But it was a foot in the door. It was he's worth a look.
Let this guy pitch a little bit,
right.
do his thing, and then you tell me he wasn't like talking you up.
Right,
It was a realistic kind of.
Just give this guy a look and see what happens.
Yeah.
So
did I catch your bullpen?
You did, yes.
Yeah.
So I come in with a couple other guys. One was some 6'5", big right-hander, average at best.
Barrett? Was it Barrett? The beefcake?
No, it was not Barrett. It was I don't know, some guy that didn't end up making the team. Another left-handed pitcher who was pretty good. He had some good stuff. It was the three of us, and Coach T was there. Skip was actually not at this tryout, but Coach T, who is the pitching coach,
Coach Dave Thurno. We talked about him previously. I'm terrible at remembering to build that up, so thank you for that.
Coach T is the pitching coach. He was there to take a look at all three of us. And the way the bullpen is set up at Embry-Riddle at Sliwa Stadium, it's two mounds off to the side. So those two guys threw. I was kind of standing off on the side, and I wait for them to throw, and then I did my stuff.
Yeah.
So actually, the people catching the bullpens were you and Bonji, Brandon Roper Hubbard, and
we talk about him enough that they know his shenanigans.
Okay. They're well versed.
Apollo Creed, yeah.
So Brandon actually starts off by catching my bullpen. I get about 4 or 5 pitches in, and then he rips off his face mask and goes, "Oh shit, I got a flight to catch." And he just fucking hightails it out of there in the middle of my tryout.
It could have been a flight, it could have been a date, it could have been anything.
A Tinder match, who knows. But you're like, don't worry, man, I got you. You slid over, you finished out the bullpen. I had my stuff, I had my A game, and I was the only one that made the team out of the three of us.
Yeah, I remember that. What I remember distinctly, I don't remember the other jabronis that pitched. What I do remember is that you were significantly smaller than them.
Yes.
You're obviously taller than me. Everyone is.
I am average, probably on the smaller side for humans, but in terms of baseball pitchers, very undersized.
Yeah. So compared to those two guys, you took a look at you and you're like, whatever. Mm-hmm. These guys come in and they're throwing like garbage comparatively, and you come in and the mindset, even for me, this broke dick walk on was like, all right, this guy's going to be just as bad as these idiots. And you came in and you fucking
I had my
plus. Yeah, you were killing it. Mm-hmm. And I remember like catching and looking at Coach T, and he's kind of expressionless, especially he's all business when he's coaching.
Oh yeah, sure.
And even he was just like, he gave like the little nod, like that's how you know he was good to go with you.
I could tell he was interested. We didn't really talk specifics. I left that day not really knowing the outcome of it, but I could tell he was interested. And Cheesesteak was actually there as well. I don't know if he came in the middle of it or if he was there the whole time, but he's there at the end of all of this. And they pull out a golf cart and is like, we can show you across the street, show you the amenities, and I don't really give a shit. Like, if you're offering me a spot,
if you got a uniform, that's an amenity enough. Yeah,
I'm coming.
Cheesesteak is the assistant coach, Chuck Stiegel, brother of Randy Skip.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You've heard of him before, but just as a reminder, Cheesesteak is a mainstay.
Oh yeah.
So you got to bring him up again. But
sure, yeah. So we talked for a little bit after that, and then like I said, I wasn't really sure how it was going to go, but I knew they expressed interest, and then I heard from Skip about a week or two later.
Yeah. And that was that.
That was that.
See, that was a tougher tryout situation than what I had, because we talked about my tryout at that year of 2008 was a full fall semester. Right. It was, I would never have made the team otherwise.
Sure.
So I got lucky. You had one bullpen to figure it out, and you did. And it wasn't just like you had a good bullpen. Like you were a top performer on the team throughout the time. And that was one of the things that was just like, I was so happy that I got to catch that bullpen and be like, that guy's good. And I caught him I knew from the start, like I was there. I lived that.
You saw it, yeah.
So it was pretty great. And then I don't remember. So we did laundry duty together. We talked about it a little bit prior. Everybody knows that one of my main roles on the team ended up being laundry duty, which is like, I was fine. It wasn't like demeaning or anything. I wasn't dumped that responsibility. It was just part of what I did. But I remember, I think it started, you were saying how it started, you guys were doing it first.
Right.
That's how we started becoming close. Like you were on it. I forgot how you got roped into it because usually like good players that play often don't do laundry duty, not because they're better than everybody else, but because, sorry, I got to spit, guys. This is why I don't do the cheese. We'll talk about cheese in a little bit, but the reason why they don't do the laundry is because you got a Friday night game. You're doing laundry all night into 3, 4 in the morning, and then we have a doubleheader the next day. If you're pitching the next day, you got to be ready.
Yeah,
guys like me didn't have to be ready. I was always ready, but I didn't have to be. Like, so I don't know how you got roped into that deal.
Yeah. So the story behind that is I just needed a little bit extra help. I was already maxed out on loans, private loans, federal loans. Thanks a lot, Embry Riddle.
Yeah. Everybody has that story, by the way. Everybody in that fucking school has that story of Embry Riddle dicking them over financially because all they care about is money. And I could go on it all day long about that goddamn scam that they're running. And as soon as I become president, hear me out, Embry Riddle. As soon as I become president, you're going down. The only thing surviving is that baseball team if the Steagles are still coaching.
Right.
Anyway, continue before I lose my shit.
We can edit that part out.
Yeah, I'm leaving it.
We're standing by it. So I go to Skip and I ask him, if it is possible, is there any more help available? And Skip, who's, I can't say enough about that guy. He offered me that help. He gave me a little bit of what I needed just to make ends meet, pay for food, pay for my cheese supply.
Yeah, you were Strombolis at Luigi's.
Right, I got to cover the necessities.
That's right.
In fact, no strings were attached to that. He gave me that help, and that was it. We moved on. And then this was going into the 2010 season. It was well into the fall, going towards the spring, start of the season in the winter.
I have a feeling that somehow Dangerous Davids is involved in this whole scheme.
Well, your senses are telling, your instincts are spot on.
I got a sixth sense. The nose knows, ladies and gentlemen.
And you could not be more right.
Oh my God, David.
So it's in the middle of the fall, and Davis is talking to Skip about they just don't have enough manpower on laundry crew because I believe it's him and Robbie Ratliff, another pitcher on our team, who's doing it this time. Yeah. Which I will defend David's it's not a two-man job. You need some more firepower. Like you said, it's late nights, early mornings, 40 uniforms.
Yeah, we could get into that, the whole process in a sec here.
Man,
but
is it a process?
Yeah.
So he's talking to Skip about how there's just not enough manpower on the laundry crew. And Skip is basically like, what do you want me to do about it? And David's, who I shared, the information with you, I was like, man, Skip's such a good dude.
You confided in David's.
I let him know, like, man, he helped me out. He did me this, this favor, this huge thing, helped me out. And then David's used that as ammunition, said, well, you gave Orty all that extra money, so why don't you make him go on the laundry crew?
That son of a bitch.
And Skip, sure as shit, says, you know what? That is a phenomenal idea. And that's how I ended up on the laundry crew.
Corey, no matter what you do, he remains an enemy of the program. I feel bad for him sometimes.
We're painting a pretty bad picture.
The poor bastard is just like FBI's top 10 most wanted on the LPDS here. But then you got roped into it.
I got roped into it, and I did it all of 2010 and 2011. I was a mainstay on the laundry crew after that. And like you alluded to in previous episodes, I mean, we had guys who weren't on the laundry crew at all would come. It was a big kind of like, I don't want to say team building, but a lot of us really did hang out on those nights because they were long nights. We're talking, the game ends at 9 o'clock. What do we play at 6?
Yeah.
Games end at 9 o'clock.
9+, yeah.
You get some food, you get the laundry process started. So you're running into late nights here, and early mornings because we got that double header starting the next day.
Right. So the laundry process, and we'll kind of go into this because it leads into the cheese origin, which we'll talk about because people don't know what the hell we're talking about right now. Mm-hmm. So the laundry process is basically you get done with a game. They we call the laundry loops. They put like undergarments like T-shirts and jock straps and all that bullshit.
You're going to want to glove up when you handle it.
Yeah, you got to glove up. And they put it on the loop so that everyone knows what clothes are theirs. And that's easy. You put that in the washer and dryer and leave that. But the uniforms themselves that we had, you had to scrub them with a special soap.
Yes.
You couldn't use like bleach or anything.
No.
you couldn't really scrub them too hard because then you cut into
Yeah,
the
you make
fibers
holes,
and
yeah.
rip the uniform.
Mhm.
So we had to soak them in like OxyClean for like an hour plus. We're talking 40 uniforms,
Right.
soaking them.
Mhm.
Then we had to take them out with the special soap and scrub over the dirt stains
Mhm.
in that. And then we had to wash them, take them out, not dry them.
You can't dry
Look
them.
again and see what stains remained,
Mhm.
re-scrub them again,
Mhm.
wash them again before we were able to dry them.
Right. Yeah.
So that process for 40 uniforms took all night. We're going,
Sure.
again, 3 and 4 in the morning sometimes.
Right. And this begs the question, 40 uniforms, come on, not everybody played. Well, the guys that didn't play were often the worst offenders of 30 uniforms.
Because they were going all out in batting
Oh,
practice. And that was the
my God.
stuff that we used to
Every
trash
time.
those guys.
Oh,
There was
are you
always
kidding
one
me?
person, like somebody would dive on like a fly ball in batting practice. Like, what the hell are you doing?
Right.
It's grass stains. Grass doesn't come out. It was such bullshit.
It got to the point where we'd have base runners in the game, actually in the game, taking leads. The pitcher would pick over, and they would dive back and get dirty, and we'd be like, "What the fuck? You didn't have to dive.
have to dive.
You went standing
Yeah.
up.
Idiot.
God damn it!
Well, everyone's happy that they got back or they stole a bag, and we're
Right.
like, God
You
damn
had
it.
that back standing up, man.
Yeah, and it was like, we're gonna be here all night. We better go get steak and shake or Checkers or something.
Oh man.
So leading into the cheese origin. So now we call cheese dip chewing tobacco. These are pouch daddies because I'm paying homage to David's here with the celebratory pouches.
That's right.
But baseball players dip. I still do it every once in a while.
Yeah.
Way less than I used to do it,
Sure.
mainly for the memory of reminding me of the good old days of hanging out with you guys. But
Mhm.
one day, you have to remember this. This is a life-changing story for me.
I'm sure I will.
We get done with a game. Now, it was like a Friday game, or we had another game like the next day, or we needed the uniforms. Also, at the same time, the coaches were meeting with a recruit. They were meeting with the recruit in the clubhouse, and they kicked everybody out. And they're like, "You got to go. We got to tell." His parents are coming. And Skip comes to me. He goes, "Sarge, you guys got uniforms. It's going to take forever. You can stay with the crew as long as you're quiet and you do your shit."
Mhm.
I was the only one in there at the time, so he only told me.
Mhm.
And he's like, "Tell the guys to keep it down or whatever."
Mhm.
You went to go get food and dip.
Right. Of course, the necessities.
So the way the clubhouse is set up is there's the door and a little hallway, and there's a wall here. So you walk this way,
And you can't see.
and
What's
you can't
behind.
see, and then you turn to your right, and on the other side of that wall is the whole clubhouse here. When you turn to the right, you only see what's in front of you. You don't see the whole clubhouse until you get through the other hallway.
Right.
So you come around with the food and dip, and you only see me sorting uniforms.
Right.
You don't see the coaches talking to this kid and his had to be religious type parents. Like he was in a suit, the father, she was in a nice like dress or something. Like they were dressed up.
Right.
Very formal for a dirty clubhouse that they were in. You just see me, you toss me a tin, a dip, and you go, "Sargy, it's motherfucking cheese time." And you scream, and you walk in, you're like, "Oh, sorry, fellas." Coach T is dying laughing. He's beet red, like a fucking tomato.
You're right.
Trying to hold back. Cheese Stag is like also kind of like trying to hold back. Skip is livid.
Yeah.
And he just goes, he looks at me, he goes, "Take care of that."
And I'm out of here.
And I was like, "Come on, Orty, we got to go."
Yeah.
We go outside. I explain. I was like, "He's got the recruit. We got to keep it down.
Right.
Stop doing that shit." And then all of a sudden I go, "What the hell is cheese?" And you're like, "I don't know. I just said it."
It's
and
cheese.
I tossed it.
Yeah.
And from that point on, it's been cheese.
It's cheese. Yep.
It's cheese time. Every time you want to dip, hey, toss me a cheese. I'm out of cheese. It's cheese.
Yep.
We got to re-up. We have cheese windows. There's a whole big to-do.
There's some rules that you have to abide by.
There is a cheese, everything. You got to abide by the rules. I spread these rules everywhere I go.
Mhm.
I have friends now, that brothers in arms in combat, that know about the cheese story,
Mhm.
call it cheese, follow the rules,
Gotta follow the
and
rules.
they'll text me or hit me up. I got a buddy who's now overseas in an undisclosed location.
Mhm.
He'll hit me up randomly, like 2 a.m. It's daytime for him or whatever. And he's like, "I just hit my cheese window. I got a flight going on, but I hit my cheese window. It's go time. And it's like, and that's kind of like one of the things, like tobacco's not good for you.
Yeah, you got to get that warning out there.
Yeah, don't do it. It's stupid. I don't like it otherwise. Sure. But things like that, when I hear that, it just, the memories just keep rushing back to me. And it's just like, oh, now I want a cheese just for that. So I can remember all that story. So that was an incredible like origin of the cheese. It's a legend now. Yeah. It's an absolute legend. Everybody knows about it. When I say everybody that I talk to in cheese with, because I always find the people, you kind of always know the crew, whether at work or whatever. And I always say like, oh, can I get one of your cheeses or whatever? And they're like, what's the cheese? I was like, well, let me tell you.
Let me tell you about the cheese.
And I tell them about the cheese window. When you eat, there's a certain amount of time that you gotta meet that window, and incredible stuff. Yep. I'll never forget it. Again, I'll lose my jaw. I'll have cancer. I don't care anymore. As long as I can remember those good times.
Some good times. Yeah.
At that point, we won't even have to cheese anymore. We'll just have an iron jaw. And that'll remind me. But
start dipping in between your toes.
Everybody knows I have an issue with feet. What was that story? Who did that? Where was it? Like Remy was the Wet Cat was talking about doing that, and how it like helps more, like the tennis players.
Yeah, the tennis players do it. They do it in their sneakers or something like that. I don't know.
Apparently, you can cheese, and it like has more of an effect if you do that. But
that's not part of the rules.
No, don't do that. That's disgusting. Yeah. I throw up thinking about it. Like when you said that, I was just like, oh.
Yeah, that's not part of the rules.
I can't do that. I got D cheese here. But yeah, cheese is an incredible like origin story of the whole thing. It kind of is another thing that brings us together. That brings back other memories of being part of the team, not just playing, but like going back to the apartment, the dungeon we called it. The extracurricular is like whether it was doing laundry and playing, like we would set the laundry, getting into the soak phase. We would get food, hit the cheese window, and then we would go play basketball in the gym while we were waiting. And those games got pretty intense sometimes.
Yeah. We have some shootout games that we played. Yeah, like I said, we had a couple of guys that weren't even on the laundry crew that would come. It was a pretty fun time. It made such a ridiculously mundane task actually pretty fun.
Yeah, and it was something that you kind of look forward to. Not doing the actual laundry, but knowing is like I'm gonna have fun tonight with my best friends, regardless.
Sure. There was a huge difference between doing laundry crew at home and then doing it on away games. There was a huge difference.
Oh, yeah, that was tough.
Yeah, we were on our own at that. Nobody's going to come and hang out at the freaking laundromat with us.
No, that was brutal.
Laundry.
Yeah, and we had to sit there and do fucking coin laundry like a bunch of savages. Sit there with our thumbs up our ass, with our dicks in our hand, as Skip would say. That was brutal. But being back home and doing it was fun because guys would come hang out. Guys would go out to the bars and clubs like on a Sunday after a double or a Saturday night after a doubleheader, and we would still be doing laundry.
Right.
And they would come back afterwards and still hang out with us. It was still fun.
Sure.
And then we would eventually go back to the dungeon.
Right.
And that's when, like, I'm not a gamer by any means, but that's when we would call it hitting the sticks.
Hitting the sticks, playing some Halo.
Playing Halo. And that was another thing that we created competition and rules on.
Yeah, right.
And it created great stories. One in particular, you got to remember this one. We were playing, I'm notoriously bad. So we have this rule. Let's kind of rewind a little bit and then walk the dog here. We had this rule that if you're playing Halo in the online, how you doing, and you get what they call getting skunked, you get 0 kills in Halo, you have to do 50 push-ups. If you can't get 1 kill in the round,
which is it's up to 50.
It's up to 50 kills. So it's really not that difficult to get 1 kill. Right. You got to do 50 push-ups. So you're either going to get really good at Halo or you're going to get really jacked. And I was getting pretty ripped. And it was pretty like regular every round. Every other round I was getting skunked and doing 50 push-ups, knocking them out. That's why I'm still able to do push-ups now, only because of that. One night, we're playing all night long. Like I don't think we had to do laundry that night or something, but we played into the wee hours of the night because we're always awake at that time anyway.
Right.
And I didn't get skunked at all. I was not on fire, but I was getting at least 1 kill every single time.
Sure.
I felt like I was the best player out there because it was like, I'm going to guarantee a kill. No push-ups today. Nothing. We're like, okay, final round. It's 5 a.m. We got to go to sleep and do something with our lives. So final round, We're playing, and now I'm struggling. Like I like the pressure was on.
It's a humbling game.
I started panicking, and we get right down to the very last. There's one kill left before the round is over, and I'm peppering this guy with shots, and I'm like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. All of a sudden, I turn my character to the left, and as I turn, there's that. I forgot it was like a hoverboard, like. It looked like a jet ski, hover jet ski. I forgot what they called it in Halo.
I don't remember it.
All of a sudden, I look and it runs me over, and you just hear on the screen, it just goes splattered. And I'm like, no! And the whole dungeon of people, there's probably like 5 or 6 of us in there. They're like, Sarge, you did it! You got skunked. You got to do the push-ups.
Hang him out.
In the heat of the moment, we're delirious. We're drinking. We're cheesing. Everybody is fucking loopy, and I get fucking splattered.
Yep.
And it was really funny.
Yeah.
I knocked him out. I'll never forget that because that was my run. That was the closest I'll ever get to an actual good, successful night of Halo. Oh, and man. I remember your face, you were dying because you just heard splattered, and you're like, you idiot. It was so rich.
Oh, I have some serious, unbelievable stories playing. I remember one time we're playing. It's me, Bonji, and Dave Reed. There's another teammate of ours. He was a middle infielder.
Prior Marine veteran,
yeah, right.
a real hero.
Going to come into play here in a minute because if you think you're bad, Dave Reed is the worst Halo player I've ever seen. I mean, every time this guy has a controller in his hand, it ends with his nose in the carpet, banging out 50 push-ups.
He's a lot better at real killing than he is at Halo killing because he's a successful Marine.
He is a successful Marine, and he is banging out. He must have 500 push-ups under his belt at this point. And again, he's a Marine. I don't know how he's doing it other than that. So we're playing what I can only assume is the last game Dave Reed has ever played Halo in his life. We're playing this other team. We're beating the absolute shit out of them. And by we, I mean being Brandon. Dave Reed still doesn't have a kill. It's like 49-10. And again, we're playing to 50. He's got one opportunity left to get his kill. And just like what you just described, he has this guy in his sights, peppering this dude in the back. He's using the battle rifle, or he's using the assault rifle rather, which is amateur.
It's a rookie level. Even I know that. Yeah.
You can't go with the assault rifle. So he's emptying an entire clip into this guy's back. One more, and this guy is dead. But he runs out of bullets. He's got to reload. And while this is going on, out of the ether, Bonji comes flying out of nowhere, gun butts this dude in the next galaxy.
The gun
steals the kill. It's the ultimate fuck you. Stole his kill. Bang out 50 push-ups.
Now that's how he got his 500 push-ups. He broke the push-up record that night.
I had to go for a walk after that one. Oh man, that was rough.
Those are some of the funniest kills: the gun butts.
Oh yeah.
Or the hammer of David Justice. I forgot the name of that actual hammer. For you game nerds, figure it out for us.
Right, it's the hammer of David.
We always call it the hammer of David Justice.
Right, and we would usually throw games just to get a kill with it because it's just a hammer, right? Other people have guns. You have a freaking holographic
giant hammer. So, and you would come in, and it was one shot, one foul swoop, a crushing blow, and you would kill people.
Right. And the rules were when you use it, you had to yell, "Justice!"
Again, part of the rules. Like, if you didn't follow the rules, you didn't play the goddamn game.
Right.
And that was part of the rules. And if you didn't, you're knocking out push-ups.
Right.
And that was and it's probably why we were so good offensively at some points in our seasons. That's how I hit the Grand Slam, is because of all those push-ups I was doing. That's the only reason. But we follow those rules. Those stories were wild. That same situation of us gaming and stuff, that led into the milkshake fiasco.
Yes, right.
Now, I talked about that with Wet Cat and Dangerous, I believe.
Yeah.
So you know that story of how devastating that was. You lived it as well.
I was there, yes.
Your reaction was the thing that made it memorable. It wasn't just the whole slow motion of everything.
Right.
Your reaction, I don't know if you remember that feeling.
I remember that feeling. In fact, I was listening to that episode with you and Phil and Dee. And as you were telling the story, I actually didn't even know where you were going with it. I didn't really remember it at the time. It wasn't until you started to describe how you were holding the cup that I started to remember. And it wasn't because I forgot. it was because I compartmentalized it deep down
in the subconscious.
I don't ever want to think about it again.
Like a Vietnam flashback.
Right. I don't know what you're talking about. It never happened. So yeah, that was a devastating night. It happened in slow motion. I mean, as you described perfectly in detail, we were talking about it for hours. It was the only thing we were looking forward to.
It really was.
And
when you get your heart set on something, it could be anything.
Sure.
It could be something real, like a World Series victory, or like a promotion at work or anything, or
a
cookies and cream milkshake from Steak and Shake and Steak or whatever we used to call it.
Yep.
And what your reaction when it dropped, you're like, oh my God, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. I feel like I wanted to fall to my knees and just, why, God, why?
Yeah, like you just lost, like Forrest Gump loses Bubba. It was so devastating. And I remember, and this is another thing that brought you into like my brotherhood, like you're a ride or die, was everyone's laughing, shit talking, whatever. Fine, that's normal. I expect that. But you, at the end, you were like,
I understood the severity.
You're like,
just took place.
Look, it's not going to be the same, but I can drive over to McDonald's. We can get a McFloozy,
right?
If that'll do it. We did. I got it. And I was like, it's not the same, but I really appreciate you're a true brother for doing that. It still hurt, and I'll never forget it to the day I die. When I'm president, I'm going to be talking about it in my victory speech.
Yeah, it was
overcoming adversity.
Very humbling experience.
Oh yeah, but that was just a great memory. We have a lot of good memories, I think, and that's kind of what makes me like. I always talk about like people like that I'm proud to call a friend and a brother. Mm-hmm. This is just one of the things that why I'm like. I love you as a brother like that, because we share all these funny, stupid shits together.
Sure, yeah.
And it just kind of molds us into who we are as friends and stuff.
Right.
And even now, like we haven't seen each other in 10 years, legitimate 10 years from the last time I was down in Pensacola or for Daytona. That was it. 10 years gone by. You drove down from a road trip, actually visiting the Wet Cat, and what were we up till 5 a.m. last night? Just right back into it, shooting this shit, shit talking TV shows. Today we were doing it again. We were outside on the balcony watching people fall off their bikes and shit talking this garbage flag football game we were watching.
Trash out there.
It was terrible, but we just kind of right back into it.
Yeah.
And it reminded me kind of all of those like funny stories and memories we had.
Sure.
And one in particular, this is kind of like not related to like the podcast of being on camera, but it's a funny story in that regard, because we were talking about how like it's different having a conversation when you know the cameras are rolling and you're recording a podcast.
Sure.
It's a lot less pressure because this is just a recording and we can edit shit out if we want to.
Like it's not even there.
Right. It's really not, honestly. Yeah. But this particular instance, it was live. So let me paint the picture for you, jabronis. I'm down visiting. I'm already graduated. I'm in Pensacola at the time, stationed there, and I'm still in my phase of like I can't get over the family I left, the baseball world I left. So I'm coming down on every weekend. It was one summer. It was like the Coke 400 race. So when you live in Daytona Beach long enough, like we did, you know enough people to get you tickets to any NASCAR race, because the Daytona Speedway is in Daytona. Shocker.
Right.
So we got hooked up with like infield passes to the Coke 400, which is a big race.
Sure.
Obviously.
I think it was Davis was coaching the team at the time, and one of his parents got us tickets.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just like stands. I actually never sat in the stands at Daytona. It was always infield, like VIP kind of status. It was kind of cool. I don't even like NASCAR otherwise. But we're in the infield. There was one part where we wanted to get a picture of the three. I think it was you, me, and Dangerous Davis.
Yeah, it was
just the three of us. And we wanted to get a picture of the three of us. So we asked this guy. We talked about this last night. And this guy thought that we wanted to take a picture with him.
Right.
Apparently, he was a famous guy, because he's like, you want me in it? I'll get my girl to take the picture. And we're like, who are you? He goes, oh, well, you know, like TMZ's always following me around. I thought you guys were TMZ or whatever. We're like, no, we're just like, we want a picture of us, dude. To this day, I have no idea who that guy was. He was one of those where it was like, I guess he could be famous. Maybe I could
Sure.
recognize him, but I think we were just making that up in our head
Yeah,
to
we were going off
justify
of
it.
memory. I remember we threw Jimmy Kimmel out there, but like you said, we would have recognized him right away.
Yeah, and
so we don't know who it was.
some fucking asshole
Yeah.
that thought like I was like,
Right.
well, I'm not taking a picture with you. It was
Yeah.
probably someone super famous now
Right.
that we should have taken a picture, but we got this picture, and then all of a sudden there's a camera guy for the race going around taking video of fans in the stands, racers getting ready,
Mhm.
people cheering and stuff, and it's live. It's live on television
Jumbotron.
and the Jumbotron, which is a giant, like for Daytona Speedway, it's a giant
Right.
TV screen, like almost the size of a football field.
Mhm.
Huge. You're wearing a Vietnam era like boonie hat,
boonie
camo
hat, yep.
boonie type of hat.
Right.
You got aviator shades on.
Yep.
You might have been sleeveless. I don't know.
Probably.
We were all. I have some pictures. I was wearing a tank top like a piece of trash, like I am now. And you're like, let's get on the camera. Let's get this guy's attention. And you call this guy. You're like, hey, get us. So this guy hears it.
Mhm.
He's live the entire time. He never stops recording. He just pans the camera over
Mhm.
to us. And then me and David's are like, yeah, NASCAR, racing's cool. Fuck yeah. And all of a sudden we look over to the side and you're gone.
Gone out of there.
Completely
I
disappeared.
just booked it.
Booked it.
Yeah.
50 yards away from the
I
camera.
didn't want any part of that.
The guy ends up leaving. We're like, where the hell did Ortman go? Where did the creature go?
Mhm.
We look around. You're sitting on a bench. You found a bench somewhere. You're just sitting there like a guy who's been sitting there all day, just
Right.
like twiddling your thumbs. And we come over like, Orty, what the hell happened? You're like, I don't know. I panicked,
I
guys.
panicked. It
The-
sounded like a good idea, but then when the reality hit, I was out of there.
Out of there. You
Yep.
didn't even get on the camera. I wish they
Nope.
got video footage of you darting out like a fucking Bugs Bunny movie, just out of the screen,
Yep.
gone. And we just see you sitting there like you've been there the whole time. Like,
yeah.
oh, hey guys, good to see you
So
there.
that happened for two reasons. Number one being because I'm a freaking spaz and I couldn't take the pressure.
Part
But
of the-
number
yeah.
two, so you described my look there, right? I had the boonie hat, I had the aviators. I also had this crazy, like scraggly beard.
The Vietnam vet beard.
Right.
Yeah.
I had the full look going.
You look like a refugee.
Well, that was my point, because the only thing keeping me from people thinking I was actually homeless and giving me money in a tin cup was the fact that I was so fat at that point. I would be the world's fattest fucking homeless person.
The biggest fraud of a homeless
Right.
bum.
What'd you do with your rent money? Dip in Nutella and eat it, you fat fuck. So it just wasn't a good look for camera, and I was out of there.
Even if it wasn't like live, you were probably gonna be gone.
Yep.
And that's something that, like, as a kid, every time I saw a camera like that, I would go to Yankee games. I remember distinctly one time I was at a Yankee game when Hideki Matsui was first on the team, so they had the Godzilla stuff going on for him. And I was in high school with a friend, and a news crew came and was like, you want to be on TV? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And they gave us little Godzilla like signs to hold up. We were like, oh, Godzilla, blah, blah, blah. And I was loving it.
Yeah.
So when I saw the camera again, I was like, oh, this is going to be like Godzilla time, like Hideki Matsui, all three of us though, like my brothers. And then it ended up just being me and Dangerous.
I want no part of
me
it.
and Cobblepot.
Yep.
Daytona's first son had no problem in the camera.
He was loving it.
And you were out.
Yep.
You were like, oh, no fucking way.
Yeah.
It was such another good story that I'll never forget. It was like, that was such a typical Ortman thing to do.
Yeah.
Part of the reason I think kind of why we call you the creature, because you are, or were, and still are, like just a conglomeration of every unique, weird thing going on, especially back then, because you had that weird beard afterwards, the boonie hat.
Mm-hmm.
You at the time, you always had this like glowing sheen on you, because living in Florida, it's 100% humidity all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So you looked like you came out of
just
like the Black Lagoon.
Yep.
And I don't know if you still do it. I never asked you before, but I'm gonna ask you now. Do you still eat onions like apples?
No, I don't eat onions like apples anymore.
Are you off the onions altogether, or is it just like?
Oh no, I still go heavy on sandwiches and things like that. But yeah, I used to love onions so much. I would eat it just like an apple. You know, dip it in a little bit of ranch dressing.
Straight up, like de-skin it and
onions,
crush, and that all that stuff made you like, we're like, what is this guy?
Yeah, this
Especially
guy's a
when we didn't really
psychopath.
know you. You're like, you're a fucking creature, and that's what we called you, the creature. I think your sign. So, like when you're in the bullpen getting ready to get called to pitch in a game, we're not major league players or teams, so we don't have a phone in the clubhouse or the dugout to call over to the bullpen. They have to make signs so people know, like, this is who I'm talking about. I want this guy going or that guy. So each pitcher has their own signal that Coach T or Skip would give to be like, get warmed up, you're going in the game.
Right.
Yours was like, it was like some weird thing. That was just like, what do we do for Orty?
Right.
Well, he's a fucking psychopath. Let's just do this.
This crazy
Nobody knows what this is, and that's perfect for Orty. So you would just see, we'd be in a heated game. Everybody's serious. Like, we want to win. We're playing some shitbag team probably that we're trying to beat. We hate them. We hated every team. And everyone's like either pissed or serious or dramatic. And all of a sudden you see Coach T, get Ortman up right now, get him up. And like, you can't be serious anymore. We're just like, here we go. It's creature time. Let's go, baby.
Yeah. And there's a lower half to that portion too. You had to do like some sort of waddle going on.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it was a full on little dance.
And
number.
even when he was pissed, when Coach T was pissed, if like our pitcher in the game was blowing it, he'd be heated and he would still do the waddle.
Even more intensity.
Yeah, that was what was so funny. I wish we had that on camera because you could just put that out there out of context and you're like, what is this coach doing? It was just wild. And I can imagine what the other teams were thinking.
Yeah.
But you would go in, even your wind up was unorthodox to say the least. It was not, I don't want to say herky jerky, but it was not slow and smooth. It was Ortman style. And then you brought the heat with it too, which was also surprising coming from like your stature and nobody knew anything about you and you just brought it. And I don't remember, you remember obviously, what was like, you have a record now, like in the program history.
I don't know if it still stands. We've had a lot of good pitchers since I've left that have put up some amazing statistics, but at the time that I graduated, I had the lowest ERA for a transfer. I think I was categorized as a 2-year, even though I was a 3-year, but lowest career ERA record.
That's awesome. Yeah. I don't know. You didn't do a lot of closing. That was more Phil's realm.
That was Phil, and before him, Varnum. I was more of a middle innings kind of guy.
And you locked it, and it was like, Ortman's coming in. Nope, we'll hold him down. It was no problem. Most of the time. That's why you were so good, and it was always dangerous with you out on the mound for that reason. Because just imagine every other team looking at you. Nobody knows you except for us. We know what's going on. You know what's happening or about to happen, and they see this fucking greasy, slimy creature slithering up to the mound. They're like, "What the hell is this?" Right, and then you would just call it deal. And like, I just imagine like a batter coming in all like cocky, like I'm going to fucking smoke this guy and just get smoked, struck out. And just like, what the hell just happened? And it was great. And it was just a testament to like your, not just ability, but your fucking like toughness and your balls and scruples out there on the mound. Was like nothing was going to intimidate you. You were going to use every ounce of your ability and skill to fucking shove every single time. And that's another thing that like makes us respect each other more. Was that the guys that we're like, at least I'm closest to from baseball or even in life, are people that talk about it and be about it.
Right, sure.
And you were one of those guys that came in and did what you said you were going to do, worked your ass off every single time. And we can make fun of each other like all day long, but I have nothing but 100% respect for you in that regard. And I'll never, like, again, you always be a ride or die. And that's one of the reasons, because I know that whatever if I have to ask you to do anything for me or a favor or ask for help, I know I'm going to get 100% of whatever it is you got to offer. So, and that's the reason why like I needed to have you on here. I'm sure like my 15 fans that don't, that don't play ball or didn't play with us are just like, why does he have all these baseball guys on? It's like, there's not just baseball guys. These are like, you guys are my brothers.
Oh yeah. Right.
You're important to me. So that's why I want to have you guys on and shoot the shit for a while and talk about whatever. We talked about last night. We reminisced about your old man.
Oh yeah. He was a big part of our fans. He came to pretty much every home game. Towards the end there, when he retired, he came to all the away games. He loved being out there.
He loved coming out.
Mm-hmm.
He's a mystery in himself. He's a bit of a legend as well.
Yeah.
Sort of the whole Ortman family is, because we talked about your brother showing up for a game. And as soon as we looked at this stranger, like popping his head in the bullpen, we're just like, that's an Ortman, no doubt.
Yep.
But your dad is a mystery because he never really introduced himself like, hey, I'm Steve Ortman's dad.
Right. But everybody knew who he was.
Mr. Ortman or whatever.
Yeah.
But you just knew as soon as he walked in, we're like, this is probably an Ortman.
Yep.
And like, tough guy, angry guy, loves talking shit about the Yankees and baseball and all this stuff.
Puffing cigars.
That's right. Always had like, it was like the DeNobili cigars or like some shitty 7-Eleven pack of cigars.
Quality,
Always. I don't know if does he still do that?
Doesn't do it anymore.
That's probably good, but he was
quit.
sucking those things down like it was nobody's business. Out in the bullpen in the middle of a college, like no problem, right there. And there was always this like aura and legend around him because everybody asks like, who's your dad? What does he tell us about your family? What does he do? And you're like, the big question to this day, he works for Rexel.
Right.
And that's all I know.
That's all I know. I don't know what his job position was, what he did on a daily basis. We had to look up what Rexel was last night.
Yeah.
So now we know it was an electrical company.
Something in electric.
Right.
That's
he did that job for 40-something years. He's been retired for 10 years and still don't know.
He could have been, and it's very possible that he still is like just a CIA officer.
Yes.
That just like a Jack Burns De Niro character from Meet the Parents of like, I work for Rexel. Like that's an easy company. Like no one's going to ask questions about that.
Right.
So much so that even his family didn't ask questions about that. Like, does your mom know what he did?
I'm sure she probably didn't.
Maybe, probably not. Maybe.
Pretty close, yeah.
But worked for the Rexel for 30 plus years. Secret agent, smoking cigars like crazy, probably like running secret ops on like foreign people around the area, doing his thing. And he was just, every time you saw him, you're like, oh, there's Mr. Ortman. Nobody knows what he does.
Nobody knows what he does. Yep. I put that guy on the fan pass list every single game that we had at home and never used him once. He always stood out by the left field foul pole, minding his own business.
Yeah, outside of the stadium.
Right. He never sat inside the stadium for a game. I put him on a free pass list.
VIP list.
Yeah, never used it once.
Like in Talladega Nights where he gives his dad, Will Ferrell gives his dad the tickets every time. At least your dad showed up to the games. He had his spot.
Right.
There was a couple of like fathers and parents.
Chip's dad was there. They became boys during.
Oh yeah, that's right. The Stump Buster himself.
Yeah.
They would come and talk because he would be pumping heaters in the back and shit talking Skip on his coaching abilities, while your old man was shit talking us on our bullpen abilities.
Right. Yep.
And it was just that was a crew in itself.
Right.
Like that's something that like the whole baseball family like created these pockets of absolute characters and endless stories.
Yeah.
Like I still talk to Skip and we still kind of reminisce about his playing days and how his old man was with him when he was a player. He'd be like, I forgot, he had one day of like a doubleheader where he was like 6 for 8 with like 4 home runs or something. And his old man still got in his ass like, what'd you do those other 2 times? Strike out? And it made me think of my parents always did that to me. Would be like, why didn't you go bat 1,000? Why don't you hit only home runs? And why do you suck so bad? And we always kind of joke about that. But that was a real thing. In the midst of a game, you would hear a couple parents like Corey Beavis's dad would be out there with his boonie hat, his Cubs boonie hat or whatever.
Like orange shorts and a purple shirt. Like just
camouflage high top sneakers that only like he had custom made.
Yeah, he had an unbelievable fashion sense.
He had a real good fit, if you will.
Yeah.
And he would be out there. And there would be like the standard parents and fans in the stands that are cheering like, good job, way to try hard, all this other bullshit that I didn't want to hear.
Right.
And then there'd be the true ride or dies out there. And each person was dogging on either their son or somebody else. My parents never came. They only came to one game because they were up in Jersey.
Sure. But
I felt like your dad and that clan was sort of my like second parents, Bonji's parents too, because they would get in my ass about shit. Like if I missed a ball in the bullpen, they're like, sorry, who are you on that one? I was like, what's going on here, Mr. Beavis? But you would have like Corey's dad chewing Corey Beavis out.
Mm-hmm.
Your dad would chew your ass out.
Mm-hmm.
Skip's dad would chew him out on coaching. He's a coach. He's the head coach of the program.
Yeah.
Him and his brother, and his old man is still there chewing them out about their coaching abilities.
Oh my God.
It was so funny, but
Yeah.
in the moment, it was just like we were getting worn out over
Yeah.
here. We were like a first place team.
Yeah.
And these guys are relentless.
Right.
But I think that's a testament to like, at least for me, I mean, some guys kind of fall under that sort of pressure, and I'm not trying to brag on myself, but that stuff now like motivates me.
Sure. Yeah.
I Skip knows it too because he always calls me out on crap in real life still to this day, and I think you're the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Where like, if someone's encouraging me, like I don't want that crap.
Yeah,
I don't need that.
sure.
I need you to tell me when I suck.
Right.
So I could get better.
Right.
And if you're not calling me out for something, I'm doing something wrong, or you're a weak ass fan.
Right. Yeah,
You're not
yeah.
a supporter.
Yeah, because you and I are both the same. Nobody kicks our ass better than we do. So
Yeah.
if you're blowing smoke, oh yeah, doing a good job, this, that, and the other. Like, come on, man. I know I suck. Like, let's just call it what it is.
Yeah.
So and that's what gets you to progress, get better, and get the result that you really want. So,
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's
And
huge.
even in the moment, it's frustrating. I remember times. I don't know if I talked about this yet. There was a time in high school I'll never forget. It was my senior year of high school. We were a state championship team. It was a good team. I didn't play much. Shocker. I was a bench captain again. Shocker. But I would get in every once in a while. And there was one game where, and I tell this story and everyone's like, oh, your parents were so tough on you. I was like, no, this is what I needed. Like it's funny, especially now thinking about it, but I needed that level of support from them.
Right.
So we're beating this team. It was an in-town rival, a public school. We're beating them 22-0. Their pitcher is on the mound, throwing knuckleballs, walking people around the bases,
Mm-hmm.
still throwing knuckleballs like a jackass because they were just a weak team.
Mm-hmm.
I get my coach is like, we're up 22-0. Libretti, you can get in.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't Sarge back then. I was the Nightcrawler. They called me the Nightcrawler because I looked like him from the X-Men or some shit. So they're like, Nightcrawler, you're in. So I get up there. He throws like one strike, and then I foul one off. And then he throws a couple balls, knuckleballs. And then he throws a knuckleball, bounces off the plate. I don't swing. The umpire goes strike 3, calls me out. And everyone's kind of like laughing, like, oh, garbage pitch. Nobody really cared. I didn't care at that point. It was a bad call, but like we're up 22-0.
Mm-hmm.
They need the outs,
Yeah,
whatever. Like that's fine. I
Yeah.
can wear that one.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's like, oh, what a bad call, blah, blah, blah. Don't worry, Libretti, you'll get him next time, blah, blah, blah. And then my mom out of nowhere, I was number 19 at the time. You just hear her. She goes, hey, number 19. What are you looking at, stupid? And everyone just starts ripping me to shreds.
My God.
And the umpire goes to me. He's like, sorry. He's like, I'm trying to get this game going. I go,
Yeah.
don't apologize to me. Apologize to her because
Yeah.
she's about to fight me.
Oh my God.
And that level of shit talking
Sure.
each other,
Mhm.
that was always what motivated me to try to do better.
Yeah.
And even in the heat of a moment in a game, it was so frustrating, like hearing your friends or fans or family like dogging on you, like, what are you swinging at? You suck. And it's just like, shut the fuck up.
Yep.
Sorry, Terrence.
Yeah.
But if I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. No,
And-
listen, that's how my parents were growing up. My mom, God bless her, she doesn't know much about baseball, but she did try. She was very supportive throughout my career, but she would do the same thing. I'd come in, get the first couple outs, give up a couple base hits afterward. Well, you might want to think about throwing that pitch again.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much.
I hope my mom would always say, she would always say, would you like fries with that? And I'll be like, what do you mean? She goes, better get used to that saying because you're not going to amount to anything playing like that. You're going to be working at McDonald's.
Oh my God.
So
ruthless.
yeah, when I was a kid, that was tough. But once again,
Yeah.
I'll never dog on them for that. I joke about it now,
Mhm.
but I love that they did that
Yeah, sure.
because it kind of made us who we are.
Right.
We probably wouldn't be sharing a lot of similarities if we didn't have that
Right.
that same mindset we do now, where it's like we need to get into each other's ass and shit talk
Right.
and rag on each other, even over stupid crap like video games, if we want to actually compete
Right.
in anything.
Sure.
And that's something that I miss a lot in my work life now.
Mhm.
Is like I have people that I like at work and we're friends or whatever, but there's very few people that will be able to do that,
Right, sure,
and
yeah.
actually get me motivated to enjoy what I'm doing in that regard. I still work hard. Obviously, I'm not going to dog my job,
Sure, yeah,
but it's a little different when you don't have your boys in your ear telling you like, you suck at being an intel officer right now, dude. Like, you gotta fucking figure it out. So I don't know how it is for you're an air traffic controller now.
Right,
That's something I forgot to mention. So you're an air traffic controller like Wet Cat and like Dangerous Davis.
That's right.
So I don't know what it's like for you in Fort Myers right now as far as that goes.
Yeah. So, I mean, no heckling like that or anything like that. It's usually pretty serious, at least for the most part. Usually you save the heckling for afterwards, and you're usually doing it to yourself like, man, I don't know what the fuck that was, but I wasn't controlling.
Well, you got to control aircraft in the middle, you know.
Yeah, you're usually not up somebody's ass while they're working, you know.
Right, you don't want to take that chance if you don't know
Yeah.
somebody. I know David's has a couple of buddies that he works with now that also went to Embry-Riddle. That we didn't really know back then, but they still have a little bit close, like a tight-knit connection in that regard.
Right.
That they've been through the same kind of shit together.
Sure.
So they kind of go back and forth, and he said it makes it a lot better.
Right, yeah.
But you're kind of soloed down in
we
Florida.
all come from different backgrounds, so
Yeah.
it's tough to share those experiences with. Actually, Phil and I share more, even though we don't work at the same facility. We kind of went through the process in the same kind of way.
Yeah.
So he and I can relate a lot
For sure
to what we're going through. But
both through the training and being stuck up in shitty spots in New York State, because you were in Elmira for 4 years.
Oh my God.
Phil's in Syracuse now.
Right.
And you guys had to tough that out.
Yeah, it was a long road. You know, we both graduated with degrees from Embry-Riddle with, you know, debt up to our eyeballs. It took a while to get this job, you know, with some things that were going on at the time that we graduated. It took years to get this job. Phil longer than it took me. You know, I was fortunate enough. I think I got in, you know, 2 or 3 years after I graduated. It was much longer for him. And then you go through the training process, which is pass fail. You know, you got to, you know, spend 3 months in Oklahoma where the training takes place. And then they send you to a facility. And, you know, the process is they want to start you off at a, you know, smaller scale facility. They want to send you to, you know, a level, you know, like one of the busiest airports in the world to start off with. They send you to one of these smaller sites, learn your craft.
Trying to keep you around.
Right. And then you learn your craft, you move on. Great concept. The problem is you end up getting stuck in one of those sites.
You rot. Yeah.
And it is tough. You know, you make a lot of sacrifices. You know, I was born and raised in Florida, and now I'm in upstate New York.
Dying up there. We all felt for you. You were out on a hardship tour for sure.
Oh man, it was rough. But
now I'm gonna shit talk Davis a little bit more here because Davis had a little bit different route.
He does not know about what Philip and I went through.
Now this is not dogging on David's ability as an air traffic controller.
No,
He's really good at his job.
Yeah, right.
He works his ass off. He's super smart with it. Agnostic of that, his route, Davis's route to get to where he is now is exactly like what you expected on paper, with all the teachers and all the experts are telling you this is how it's going to go. You're going to go to Embry-Riddle. You're going to get this highly sought after degree. You're going to go to your training immediately to Oak City. And you're going to kill it because we prepared you well enough to kill it there. And then you're going to immediately get your first choice on your list of places to go. And it's going to be a top tier facility. You're going to be making all the money, whatever. Davids graduates, gets the call, goes immediately to training. I don't know how, there was not a lot of lag time between him graduating and actually going to Oklahoma City for training. Crushes it out there, gets New York Center, I think, right off the bat.
Right.
He had to tough it out because New York Center is the most difficult pretty much out there as far as air traffic control goes. And we can get into that like a different time of like the ins and outs of air traffic control and the different facilities and levels and stuff. But New York Center is a region. It's not an airport. It's a full region of shit you got to deal with, right?
It is busy. It is tough. I mean, you got to know your stuff. You know, again, I can't say it enough. David's got through it. So he knows his shit.
Right. And he had to go through a couple years of shit pay, shit hours, and training and work schedule to earn his stripes at that facility.
Right.
And now he's crushing it there, living the life. Your guys' route,
a lot more humbling.
Definitely. Not just so much so the shitty places you got located in where most people end up rotting there their entire careers. You were able to sneak out. Phil's working his way out of Syracuse. But the wait time to actually get to school, because for whatever reason, like within a month of you guys graduating, they put like a freeze on sending people out to training.
Right.
And there was like indefinite amount of time between when they needed guys to come train. So you and Phil had a rot. Phil actually was able to, he went back to DC where, in the area he grew up in. He got a couple of good jobs working there, which was good for me because when I got stationed there, I got to hang out a little bit.
Right.
So he found a way to make it work in that regard. And then he got the call.
Right.
Your rat was similar, but different.
Much different.
So you didn't get the call. Were you back living home after college?
I was living at home. I was begging for a job. I'm applying everything,
right?
Yes. Fast food, you name it. I'm just, just looking for a way to, get a little bit of money until I get this, because I know the call is coming. I just don't know when.
Right.
So,
also, at the 7-month mark after graduating, those loans start coming. They come calling.
Yeah.
And you got to start paying those off. Embry Riddle knows exactly what I'm talking about. They don't give a shit, but you got to figure it out in 7 months.
Right.
So you're at home.
Right. I'm begging for a job. I'm not getting anywhere with it. So I decide I'm going to create my own job.
Before you talk about, are you talking about the bullpen?
Yes.
Before that, I want to talk about the lottery ticket algorithm scheme.
Yes.
Now, it wasn't really a scheme.
It wasn't a scheme.
You were using your brains and your skill set to learn the algorithm to get,
which I can now tell you does not exist.
Apparently not, but I thought you got close one time.
I'm telling you, I did. Now, obviously, it was luck, but I had charts and everything, spreadsheets. I'm going to crack the code for the lottery, and I'm going to win. And I'm giving you some, and that's it. We're done.
We're done. We're going to live high on the hog.
Yep.
And I remember the one time you bought. It was, I don't know, it was Powerball or some shit. You bought 3 tickets.
Yes.
And you put numbers on each ticket. You ended up getting all the numbers correct.
On all 3 different tickets.
But each of the set of numbers were on either 3 different tickets. You were not able to, that was, I think, the closest you got. You were not able to match those numbers. You got them all. I don't know fucking how you did it.
Either, yep.
But that was so close. And and that's when I was like, he's going to do it. This is it. But then you switch focuses, switch gears. That's what I was looking
this
for.
isn't going to happen. So I decided I'm going to create my own job and create my own website. I called it Bullpen GM. So the idea behind Bullpen GM was it was going to be, it ended up being a blog, which I didn't really want it. That's not how I envisioned it to be. But that was one of the reasons, not the main reason why it failed, but certainly one of the reasons why it ended up failing. But the idea behind it was going to be like the Facebook, but for baseball, a basebook, if you will.
If you will, and I will.
And I will. So it was going to be like a social network, but dedicated to baseball. It was going to be, rather than me posting, articles or blogs about my opinion, the user was going to create the content. They were going to, create statuses about their favorite teams, talk shit, basically anything you wanted to do as from a fan standpoint regarding baseball. That's what this website was going to be.
Right.
Again, apparently you have to be pretty smart to do that. I don't know anything about coding. I don't know anything about search engine optimization. I don't know anything about anything. I just use a basic WordPress, start throwing up blogs. I created some sort of, forum-based pages so that people can post. Nobody ever did.
I think we did some responses every once in a while.
Right.
But not as much as I probably should have. Thinking back now, for sure, I definitely should have supported more.
Listen, it was the quality wasn't quite there. So the way I'm going to generate revenue with this, which first mistake was you got to create the content first, learn how to monetize it later.
Correct.
Right. So I need the money. I got student loans. Thanks a lot, Embry Riddle. I got to find a way to make a quick buck out of this thing.
Right.
So I use Google AdSense, which again, lesson number 2, if you're serious about something, don't use somebody else's shit. Use your own. Like create your own
shit. Yeah.
Right. So Google AdSense, for people who don't know, is just like this basic thing that Google offers. It'll throw an ad on your website and it generates revenue for you. And I don't know how it works on the macro scale. If you're getting hundreds of thousands of views an hour, maybe you get it, money by the view. But when you're on this much smaller scale, the way I was, you only get paid if somebody clicks on your ad. So if you
on
go
the ad itself,
on the ad.
okay.
So if you go to my website, check it out. Oh, this is cool. Type a response and leave. I don't get anything out of it. You got to click on the ad for me to see the money.
So we would click on the ads. I wasn't really responding too much in the forums and stuff, but we were clicking on ads.
Right.
It was a couple cents, maybe.
Yeah, no, actually, it got up to close to like $1, $1 per click. So, this isn't a get-rich scheme. It's just a little bit of seed money. Let's get the ball rolling.
The start, get the snowball rolling down the hill.
A little bit. So I decide this isn't happening quick enough. So I come up with this plan. I don't use my own computer because that would be crazy, right? Like the first rule to using Google AdSense is you're not supposed to click on your own ads.
Right.
Because
it's obvious if you're going cyber nerddom here for a second, they follow the source IP, IP address, and your computer has one IP address normally. And this is before the days of like everybody having well-known like VPNs that they can sign up for and create different IP addresses, which is, again, cyber stuff that we're not talking about right now.
Yeah. So I come up with a brilliant idea that I'm going to drive down to the library, log on to all their computers, and just... And again, this isn't a get-rich scheme. Just to get the ball rolling, it's just going to be, small amount of clicks.
Right.
Google's not going to notice.
Definitely not.
They notice.
Immediately. Almost immediately
they notice. So at some point, I'm trying to log into my Gmail account. I can't get in. I go to my recovery, stupid AOL account from when I was like 12.
Yeah.
That's my recovery.
What was your name? Like,
I couldn't even tell
Big Dick 69 at AOL.com.
Right. 69.
Yeah.
And I get an email in that account that notifies me, I don't remember the gist of it was, you violated rule number 1. Like we told you not to do it. You fucking did it anyways. So they took all the ads down off my website. They took away my Gmail. They took away. I was basically banned.
You're
from Google.
Banned from Google.
Banned
completely.
From Google.
And I remember this happening in real time.
Yes.
Where you would be texting us. We'd be like, "Hey, when's the next forum blog coming out or whatever?" So we could start clicking ads. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, "Well, I'm going to the library to do this, so I can get the ball rolling, spark some interest or whatever." Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, we asked again, like, "Hey, when's the next one out?" You're like, "They got me, fellas."
It's over. It's over. The jig is up.
We're like, "What the hell do you mean?" And you told us about how they put the kibosh on that pretty quickly.
I went toe to toe with a global titan
with the brass.
I got smashed to smithereens.
You got hit with the hammer of David Justice for sure.
I got absolutely totaled. And after that, bullpen GM kind of went by the wayside. After that.
Yeah, you closed the website off. You weren't going to pay for the URL or whatever.
Right. Yeah. So. That's how that ended. They won that round.
That's it. They won the battle.
Yeah. But you know what? I'm like Michael Scott. Today it was bullpen GM. Tomorrow it's going to be bleacher GM.
That's
After
right.
That, it's dugout GM.
I got endless amount of names. I got infinite amount of names here, folks.
I can do this shit all
Michael
day.
Scott Paper Company is not dead. Will never die.
I can do it all day.
So, and we talked about that earlier today. Actually, it was like it doesn't. I don't think it has to do with necessarily being smart enough to create like the website, especially nowadays, and knowing like all that science behind it. Mm-hmm. It's more so of just like the persistence,
right?
Setting up a website that what you want of the content you want, and you could do it easily on like a Squarespace, which is not a sponsor yet. They will be when I make it big.
Oh yeah.
Or any sort of place like that. And just keep at it and just keep doing it. Very simple additions, improvements while you're working, when you have some spare time. Start it like a hobby again, and just keep at it, excuse me, until it continues to grow.
Yeah.
And I think organically growing something like that is a lot more effective than
they're trying to make a quick buck.
Right. Yeah. And you can look at look at the big companies that have tried to do that. Like recently Quibi. Have you heard of that place?
I haven't heard of them, no.
Quibi was like some bullshit. It was supposed to be like, I don't even know. It was like a YouTube, but short videos that the goal was like, you can watch short TV on your phone all the time now. And then like, it was started at the top by a bunch of rich assholes thought that we can start the next YouTube, Instagram kind of thing that's going to be bigger than anything else. And they put billions of dollars into it. They spent all this money on like hiring celebrities to push it. The facility that they had for like the office spaces were like top of the line, all this other bullshit. They didn't spend any time going into like the content or understanding how shit grows in that regard. And within months, they started this year, they're selling it now. They just closed up shop. They're like, Quibi's an utter failure. We're gonna selling it for parts now. A complete utter failure because they did like a similar thing where it's like, we just want to put a whole bunch of money into it so we can be big immediately, and we don't want to work at it organically and build it up. So I think that if you do that, your idea was awesome. We all loved it. And it wasn't just us saying like, you got a good idea because you're my friend, because we would tell you right off the bat, this is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
But there's obviously enough baseball fans out there that'll do that. They have endless amount of podcasts and streams and radio shows about it constantly, and adding to that venue, it's not like you're saturating the market with stuff. You're just adding another way for people to access baseball shit talking.
Right.
It's probably not going to be censored where you have to we have to sound professional because our sponsors are going to, you can do whatever you want with it.
Right.
So I think you should keep going with it.
It was definitely something that I baseball's something I've always been passionate about. I didn't just play. It's something that, it was a lifestyle for me. I loved it. So it's, listen, LPDS is an inspiration of anything else. So I got to get back into it, just get the ball rolling.
I think you should. And this is coming from a guy who, again, gets like 40 listens on episode.
But this is going to be a great story when you have 1 million listeners.
That's what I always brag about. I said, look, when I make it big, everyone's going to go back and be like, remember when he only had 40 listeners? Like, I'll remember those ride or dies for sure. When I'm bigger than Rogan doing my podcast in the Oval Office.
That's right.
That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Sleeveless tuxedos are going to be wearing on the show. But I think that's the best route, especially since it's not, you don't need it for the money now.
Right. Yeah.
I think that was a different time for you in your life where you needed to find a way to survive and pay off your debts until you got the call.
Right.
And it just kind of like the failure kind of worked out at the time. Is like, this went down, Google dropped the hammer, and then you got the call. So you just kind of moved on and flourished in the air traffic world. But it's still a passion of yours.
Yeah.
So no better time than now to work it as a passion where you don't have to worry about the income aspect of it.
Right.
Which is kind of like why I like doing this, is because whether I have people listening or not, I enjoy talking to myself and learning about how I conduct myself on camera and talk about shit and all this other bull crap and entertaining or whatever. So I have fun. If I can make money off, perfect. That'd be amazing if I can actually do something legitimate like that. But I don't need it.
Yeah, right.
You don't need it now, but you enjoy it. So why wouldn't you want to keep doing it?
No, that's a good point. I think, at some point down the road, I think I'm going to get back into it. And
I'll help you. Yeah, I'll definitely help you out. You can. I can't say that you would make the sponsor list for the cage segment. That's kind of a VIP list, as you could tell.
Yeah, sure. But we kind of have a bad history, so you don't want to be associated with our company, anyways.
Well, that's what the LPDS is all about. We bring in
second chances.
Yeah, we're like the America of the old days. Bring us your sick, your tired, your bullshit, your scammers, your Davidses, everybody. So I'm all about that.
Yeah.
And again, coming from me, like I am doing this with zero success whatsoever as far as like financially. This is not for that. Do it, man.
Yeah.
You're not not doing anything. Like people always say like, oh, another podcast, like billions of people are doing podcasts. You're just going to be like wasting your time. Like, I don't give a shit. That's not why I'm doing it. Put that fucking site out there, write about your passion, get other people involved in what they enjoy talking about and doing, and just see what happens.
Sure.
Worst case scenario, you fucking get to talk about baseball with a couple of us still.
Right.
And that's still cool.
Yeah, no,
So I don't see why you shouldn't,
I think it's a great idea. I might have to do it without the help of Google this time. I don't know if that band is still
it could be like a lifetime exile.
Right. So I still have a Gmail account now that has, it's my name, but those are just letters. Those aren't actually like identifying, it's not identifying information. As far as like social security and things like that, I don't know. While everyone else is, talking about Google and stuff, I'm still Ask Jeevan, I'm just
old school styles. Yeah. Alta Vista. I don't even know they're still around, but but I definitely think you should do that.
Yeah.
I am happy though that like despite the lottery stuff not panning out and that not panning out.
Listen, the jury's still out on the lottery thing.
It is. It is. I always wish you would go back and finish what you started for all of our sakes, because I know we're all going to be like jumping on your coattails on that one for sure.
Yep.
But that whole situation is sort of like another testament to that never quit attitude.
Sure.
And I talk about that with Skip constantly. Everybody I talk to about like that's the one thing that I respect the most or the least of somebody is if they're gonna quit when the going gets tough. or if they're going to fight through it,
Sure.
even if they suck at something or they don't win something or they come in last place in the conditioning workout or a race or whatever.
Sure.
If you fucking finish strong and you finish what you started and you work your ass off the whole time and never quit, that's all I can, like, you're tops for me.
Sure.
That brings you into the fold for me.
That's
So
the separator, yeah.
I think you should keep doing it with the website, but the fact that you were able to knock it down on yourself and slink into oblivion.
Yeah, no, you got to keep pressing
and
along.
continue to flourish. I mean, you're a real ass adult now. You got a house,
I got a house,
a full-time job. Like, you're living the life down in Florida.
Yeah, I finally got out of Elmira. Things worked out, so I can't complain too much. I got a good situation down there.
Yeah.
Finally back home.
I don't own a house.
Yeah.
I'm not even close to an adult yet. So you're doing great things. I couldn't be happier for you.
I appreciate it.
I couldn't be happier, more selfishly, that you were able to come down on your way back down to Florida on your road trip to stop by, because this was such a great time for me.
Yeah, I know we talked about it, and we were kind of both like, maybe it'll happen, but we'll see.
I didn't want to get my hopes up because I know it was a difficult timing wise, and plus you never know when I was going to get the call to go show up at work.
Sure.
And it's going to be a waste of your time. But the fact that we made it work is just amazing.
Yeah.
I could talk all day with you about a whole bunch of shit. We got so many stories. I think we should cut it now though, because this is a good set the stage origin. We got the quick and dirty on our brotherhood, our friendship, and then you could come back, or when the next time we're gonna plan a trip, hopefully to Hotlanta to go see Bonji.
Right.
We can plan an episode there, a couple episodes there.
Yeah.
Drink a little bit, have a good time.
Yeah.
And then we can kind of continue on. So now everybody knows the character that is the creature.
That is the creature.
But thank you again for coming on.
Thanks for having me, man. This is awesome.
You don't have any social media you want to plug, right?
I am off the grid. I did social media for a year or so. The world wasn't ready for that, so I got off. I'm not on anything.
When you get the website back up,
Right.
you can have like a business account for Instagram or some shit and kind of go from there. You could still stay behind the curtain, if you will, like the wizard.
Yeah.
But you got to get on there.
Yeah.
If for nothing else, just so we can keep shit talking. Because that's what I'm a strong proponent of fun, loving shit talking on the comment section of all my shit. So we'll get you on, and then we'll pass that information out to the millions of fans listening to you today.
That's going to set me up big.
Yeah, but thank you again. I was so pumped that we were able to do this. I'm excited that we were able to get this out when we post it whenever. Like I do, I do a bunch of recordings and we'll post it kind of whenever. But thanks again. You guys, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. If not, whatever. Like, it's 40 of you. Get over it. Like, I'll find 4 other fans to like my shit. But if you do like it, go follow my crap. YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Libretti Podcast Diary Show on all those, at LPD_show on Instagram. I got the Facebook page now that you can go follow on, that I post on. And then if you want to go point to point one-on-one, Libretti Podcast Diary at gmail.com. You can shit talk and give me feedback like a beta bitch if you don't want to be identified, or you could be a text message tough guy on the comments and put your name behind it. Say it with your chest, if you will. So thank you guys again. I love you, and stay strong.
And I was talking